applying safety to every procedure you do in a shop like this. When we come to work, when we turn the key in the door to come into here, we are entering a war zone, and I'm not kidding you, all right? Some of these machines can kill you before you even, you're dead before you even think about it, right? At the least, you'll get a cut or a scratch or something. That's not going to, make you feel good. Might be uncomfortable, but most accidents in wood shops usually are something like an amputation of a finger or a hand or something like that. They're pretty dangerous. Table saws, a lot of people are cutting their hands and fingers or whatever, but also kickback. Same mill. A guy had a piece of wood sliver, came back like a spear, went in and went right into his spleen. He could have died. All right. The shapers are very dangerous. The table saws, your chop saws, and a joiner like you just saw. Every machine in this shop is just sitting there waiting for me to become lax and not pay attention, and bam, it's going to be. It's not going to be when you're expecting it. Sometimes you know something's really dangerous and you're fired off. That's not when you're going to get hurt. It's when you're sitting there cutting, especially if you're doing a routine thing that's you're going to be a half hour, an hour, or all day maybe, sitting there ripping a whole bunch of wood. It becomes monotonous. Your mind starts to wander. You start thinking of other things, and then you become lax and you're not concentrating. That's when an accident's going to happen. So yeah, just remember, when you turn the key to come into your workshop, you're going to war. All right, you're going into a battle. Every day you're going into a battle, and you want to make sure that when you leave, when you turn the key, you walk out, that you still have 10 fingers, 2 legs, and whatever else. Okay? Don't laugh. I can tell you stories, all right? 5.5 inches finished. By the way, don't do what I do what I say. I don't have I want you to put in fact, I'll put eye protection on. How's that? Anytime you're working around machinery, you should have hearing protection, eye protection, and a respirator. So you're protecting that you're not breathing in a lot of dust. I'm not going to put hearing protection on, and I'm not going to put a face mask on, but I will put these glasses on, all right? How's that? Make sure you always follow the rules. This is why I want glasses on. These little slivers, they can be thrown back and they could hit me in the eye. We don't want that. Another thing I want to point out, you notice my pinky. There's about a ½ inch lip here on this bees minor fence, and I've always got my pinky in here, so it's kind of guiding my hand. If I had my hand just there, I could maybe slip and go into the blade, but by hooking 1 or 2 fingers on here, it gives me a little more security to ensure that I might not slip and wind up cutting my fingers off. We don't want to do that either. You see my pinky here? The other thing, as I'm doing, I've got my other fingers pressing down and my thumb on the back. So I'm actually pushing with my thumb and I'm holding down with my fingers, but I'm in a twisting motion. I'm putting tension. In other words, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to keep the front edge tight to the fence. All right. It's a good idea to keep your goggles, your safety glasses, in a Ziploc baggie. It'll keep them clean from dust and whatever. There's one other point I'd like to make as regard to safety. All right. You didn't notice it before I started cutting, before I started ripping this material, but let's put it this way. Move up here if you can hear me okay. I was an EMT in a first aid squad for, I don't know, 15, 20 years or something, but one of the things that we learned when we came onto the scene of an accident, the very first thing we would do is what we call secure the scene, all right? Securing the scene means we've got an accident, there's a car accident or whatever, some kind of an accident, and we're going to show up. The very first thing we want to do is make sure that me and the other guys or girls, whoever's on the squad, showing up at the scene to help me, are not going to get into danger ourselves. We're not going to get injured or hurt or something like that. All right, so we do what we call secure the scene. So we pull up in the ambulance, and the first thing we do, before we even get out of the rig, we survey the scene basically by using our eyes. We look around and we look for danger signals. Now let's say it was a thunder and lightning storm, all right? It's raining and maybe a car hit a pole and there's wires down, all right? But the last thing you want to do is pull up to a car accident and there's wires dangling, laying, sparking in the road, and there's puddles, and you get out of the rig and you walk into the puddle and you electrocute yourself. So this is what I mean by securing the scene. You look and assess the situation and make sure that there's nothing there that's going to hurt you before you can start helping the patient or the victim or whoever, whatever you're there to take care of. Because if you're injured, then you can't be helping the other people, all right? So before I work on a machine, a table saw, the planer, the joint, or whatever, I secure the scene, all right? There's nothing on the floor around me. I want to make sure that as I'm stepping back and forth and walking around the saw, I don't have anything laying on the floor, like an electrical cord or an air hose or a piece of lumber or a cut-off piece of material, something that I might step and trip and fall on and go into a blade. This has happened, trust me. There's a mill. It was built back in the 1800s, right down the street from here. And there was a gentleman working for them, and he was carrying an armload of material over to a table saw that was running. And I know there was something on the floor. I don't know whether it was pieces of wood, air hose, a dust collector hose, something. He tripped on it, and his hand went, he cut all his fingers off on the table saw. He did not secure the scene before he started working. Now that doesn't mean just the floor. You also want to make sure your table's in good shape. If you watch my videos, you see that this is a table saw, but I use it, I actually work on here, all right? I use it as a workbench and many a time. So I might be getting glue dripped on here or something. So let's say there's a big gob of glue that dripped here, and I might be going to push a piece of wood through, and it might hit that gob of glue that's now hard and stuff, and it might deflect my piece of wood or jam it or something, that the piece of wood might get thrown back and hurt me. So you also want to make sure your table, if you're just using it as a table saw, chances are, I really should do that, but I came to this big, huge shop from a very, very small shop where I got into the habit for 20-some years, 25 years. This saw was not just a saw, it was also my workbench. I didn't have room in the shop for a regular workbench. So I just got in the habit of doing it. So when I came over here, I'm still in the habit, even though I have plenty of floor space and I have a lot of nice workbenches, invariably I will find myself working on here. And also the bees wire fence, it also lends itself towards certain procedures when you build, like when I build my drawers. It's a backstop. If you saw it a couple videos ago, I was assembling drawers. This came in handy as a backstop so I could press on the drawer sides as I'm pinning them with the gun, and that would hold them secure. So yeah, I've gotten into the habit of using this as a workbench, not just a table saw. So yes, you want to make sure that the seam is secure. Secure the seam before you turn the machine on. Everything is clean, the electrical is done, the blade is set to the height that you need. Now, I keep my blade when I'm working. There's what's called gullets on the blade. Those little valleys in between each tooth. You want the top surface of your workpiece to be in that gullet. You don't want the entire gullet to be higher than the workpiece, and you don't want the tip of the blade to be just barely touching. Because if something wobbles or there's a variation in the thickness, then it might not cut all the way through. So, but basically you want to be maybe 1/8 of an inch above your workpiece with the height of your blade, all right? The more you have it sticking up above your workpiece, the more chance there is if you do slip or something and put your hand into it, if it's only 1/8 of an inch up, it's still going to hurt. It's going to be, but it might not be as tragic as if that blade was up 2 or 3 inches and now it can cut your finger completely off, or your hand or whatever. So that's the other thing. Get the height of your blade set before you start working. Don't turn the blade on and then come over and put your piece of wood next to it and then start cranking the blade up or down, because you might be looking down here and you might push the piece of wood into the blade and get thrown back or whatever. So that's part of what I call securing the seam, all right? Words of caution, all right? I'm 65, I've been doing this for 40-some years, 45 years or more, 47 years actually. And a lot of this stuff is an instinct. Sound like a race car. But a lot of these things are instinct to me. I do them without thinking. Not to say that there's times I've got cabinets all over, workpieces, doors, drawers, whatever. Parts of cabinets all over, and I can't or don't secure the seam like I really should, all right? If you see me doing that in a video, don't throw caution to the wind and say, hey, look, Mike, he's an experienced cabinet maker. He's not worried about it, so why should I? I should know better, all right? So don't look and see what I do. Do what I said. Just like I said, I should be wearing hearing protection and a respirator. This dust is not healthy for you. The sound of the motor, I'm very, very hard of hearing, all right? Because I never wear hearing protection. I won't say never. Some of the machines I do put them on. But for the most part, no, I don't wear hearing protection, and I should have, all right? But at 65 years old, almost 66, what's it worth now, you know? So, but protect your ears. Make sure you're filtering the air before you breathe it. And yes, for sure, wear eye protection, all right? 90% of the time you won't see me wearing it. Again, not what I say, not what I do, go by what I say. Observe, you know, if you ever watch Norm Abrams, Yankee Workshop or whatever, you always saw that before he started a project, he put his hearing protection on, he put his respirator, he put his glasses, his helmet, and some guys wearing leather apron, all kinds of. Don't laugh at that stuff. It's, you know, there's merit to applying safety to every procedure you do in a shop like this.